The rawhide again.
What was that? What? What's that sound?
It's Chewy.
And they're living in your town.
Roof.
They have arrived.
Roof.
They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you
Hello, weirdos out there in Weirdo Land. It's live from my living room. It's the Weird Whenever podcast. How the hell is everybody doing in these uncertain times?
In these times.
Staying alive.
Staying alive.
Little bored. Little bored.
Little bored. I think that's going to be one of the main problems here is people who feel good and are bored. That's where you start doing weird shit. You start going live on Instagram and saying all this crazy shit. You go in there just trying to hide from the corona, and then you end up getting fired.
I think there's a lot of good content being made. I think a lot of people are bored. I have laughed out loud at a lot of memes lately. Don't you think the internet's doing a good job with the memes?
The memes have been going off.
Are you trying to just go a blanket statement saying the whole internet's done a good job? Because I can't do that.
No, not as a blanket statement. I think that the body of work overall, there's a lot of good content getting put out.
I'll tell you what I'm liking, because I feel like you can get doom and gloom on about 90% of the platforms that you tune into. I like the people that are trying to add a little humor and a little light to a very weird situation. I think that's a very important thing to do. We are all bored. We're all locked in these houses, or these homes as they call them, Denny's.
Yeah.
And I think, without being a dick about stuff, I think it's nice to see people trying to entertain the other people who are, because there's a lot of people who are anxious, and I understand that. I get that. For example, I want to give a big shout out to my kidney brother, Jim Romano. Now, if you don't know who Jim Romano is, he's the guy I donated my kidney to, and he's got all kinds of kidney issues. Someone like him, he can't go out. He can't go out anywhere. He's considered a high-risk person. So he was supposed to get married in a month. They have to postpone the wedding. You know, he's got a fiance now that's freaking out because she wanted to get married. And I totally understand that. And there's so many subset stories like that that you don't even think about because, you know, we're trying to stay healthy. We're trying to get people, you know, not dying. Those are the main things. But there's also other stuff that's going to create, you know, some mental health issues, I think.
Totally.
You know, so I think it's important for people to be uplifting if you can. And, you know, if you see the people who are down and out and you're able to be the uplifter, I just suggest trying to be the uplifter.
Totally. And to your point, there's science behind that, because if you're stressed out, that affects your immune system. And this is something that affects your immune system. So, you know, there's importance and science behind having some levity in the situation.
I also think it's very important to ask your loved ones, your best friends, your family, even your coworkers, how are you actually doing? I talked about this the other day on the KVJ show. If you legit ask, you know, Vicky, how are you doing? With all bullshit aside, how are you doing, Vicky, with everything?
Since we're on the topic.
I'm fine. I mean, I don't panic, you know, generally speaking. And my kids are home. I have food. I have food for my animals. I'm fine.
What would be your advice to a family right now that is stressed out, having anxiety, that's not as confident as you? They have a bunch of kids, trying to entertain them, trying to educate them. They're not making any money. What would be your advice if you had to?
I would say take time every day to kick it old school. Take out a board game. Make sure that you're actually sitting at the table together when you eat. Just years ago, we had those hurricanes that came back to back, and then we had like that one that came in an odd time, like in October. So it wasn't that hot, and that's what we did is we pulled out the board games and we just sat there with the windows open. We weren't, you know, sweltering, and we just did old school things like that.
So basically, are you trying to tell the people to taking it back to the old school because I'm so cool, I'm an old fool? If you want to get down, I'll show you the way. Beckett, whoop, there it is, I'm done. I think that's great sage advice, Vicky.
That is good advice.
I absolutely love that. Beckett, how are you doing mentally with everything?
I'm doing well. I'm actually looking at this like a prison sentence, and I would say that in a good way, because I get
that. Going to prison is very positive.
Well, I have a buddy that went into the clink, and I told him, like, yeah, you can just eat all the junk food and get out of shape, or you could read books. You can get ripped. Like, you can work on that product line you've been trying to work on. You can do a lot of things. So I think that that's okay.
Not to interrupt you, but
I don't think it distracted him.
Unfortunately, in these trying times, these what's the term we were saying on the morning show that we can't stand? I can't think of it right now.
I can't remember.
All right,
you put me on the spot. Thanks. Right in the middle of Beckett's story, you put me on the spot.
Chewy doesn't do well with a bunch of people anymore, and I don't know if it's the anxiety of the corona getting him down, but I do apologize for the interruption.
No worries.
We have Denny's wife, Jen.
Tending.
Great word. Beckett, reset.
Well, I was just saying that I think if you could take this and make lemonade out of lemons, as they say, and say, there's projects that I have totally ignored around my house. I've been working on my dissertation, or I should say haven't been working on my dissertation. So this is actually like forces me to sit down, get it done, get some projects done. And I don't know if, maybe there's a better question of the day, but I'm really curious from the audience. What do they do? What are they doing? What do they suggest people do during this time that's productive?
So I think the more dissertations, the better.
No, I hate it. They're the worst thing.
I'm kidding.
They're the worst thing ever.
That's such a Beckett word.
I know.
Dissertation. Denny's, you're a man of steadiness.
Yeah.
How are you doing in these trying times?
I'm doing good. I'm stocking up on stuff. I guess more so. I'm not so, I'm pretty good at avoiding people. So I'm already in my circle, I've already gotten some of my, necessities for, but here's where my concern lies is the shutdown of production for 2 weeks. And then not in that time frame, because we have warehouses with stuff in it. The problem is latent, like a month from now, when we're catching up with now the supply and the demand is offset. Because right now, we have an abundance of things. We can get whatever we want. It's starting to get, scarcer, and I'm sure companies are kicking into gear, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're doing the reverse right now because they're trying not to infect more people. And a factory, has 300 plus workers in it at one time. Mm-hmm. People changing a day throughout the day, changing positions and such. Yeah. But so I'm just thinking, what's going to happen in 2 months from now? That's when I wonder if we're going to feel the effects of the shutdown of everything.
I'd like to get just so y'all know on a logistic level, I'd like to get Brittany's opinion on what her thoughts are, so you guys can switch without I need to come right back. Denny's for Denny's random facts. Chewy baby. Chewy, it's gonna be okay. Chewy, I will pet you all day. I think that worked.
Maybe it did work.
I think that worked. Brittany, how you doing? I feel like, just going on my energy level, I feel like you are a little anxious.
I have an anxiety order already, and it's usually with health anxiety stuff, not anxiety in general. So
you have anxiety disorder?
I do. I was diagnosed when I was 13, and it's about health stuff. So when I was little, I would be afraid of getting cancer, stuff like that. So this is obviously the worst case scenario for me.
For somebody who suffers from that.
Yes. I'm trying to think positive about it, but at the same time, I'm looking at numbers, and I'm into the science field and everything. So kind of like what Denny's was saying, right now it's okay, but I keep thinking what's it going to be like in a month? What's it going to be like in 2 months? And it's concerning when you have, people who were not worried before, now all of a sudden you need to stay in, you need to do this. And I think the thing that I worry about most is it's a virus. It's not going to disappear. If it did, we wouldn't have HIV still around. We wouldn't have, the cold still around. So it can mutate. It can be around for years to come. But at the same time, I'm okay, just stay in, be healthy. But it is something for, I think, people to, think about and be more concerned.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of I think he starts to bark because I talk loud. Mm-hmm. And I don't normally talk that way because it's just me and him. Mm-hmm. So I'm usually hey, baby, how you doing? You want some snacks? Mm-hmm. You want some snacks for that ass?
Does that work on dates too?
If I talk like that, that's my, hey, what's going on? You want to come back to my place, boys? Yeah, gosh, I might be a worse whisperer than Virginia.
I got some snacks.
Yeah, no, so I think there's a lot of we might have to. Should we press pause and should I move Chewy? Jen, is it possible you could bring Chewy outside and I will buy you lunch from a non
Support those businesses.
I will buy you lunch from a non-coronavirus restaurant. Chewy, you want to go pee? You want to go? There we go.
There you
Oh yeah, baby. Get that light. I want to apologize to everybody tuning in for the first time. Oh shit. Hold on. You know what?
Let's just keep talking.
Vicky, if you could, why don't you give the audience the ghost word or vocabulary word of the day?
Okay.
Love it. Let's hear it.
I think that, well, first I want to say something. I think that a lot of times people in the paranormal field, they tend to have something normal happen and they try to put a supernatural or paranormal twist on it. And so I just want to give a shout out to the teams out there that carefully analyze their evidence and they actually determine whether there's a natural cause. So with that being said, the word for today is orb. Okay. Now, this can be a very nasty word in a very eye-rolling world in the paranormal field. An orb is basically, it could be comprised of dust. It can be comprised of moisture. It can be, some people think it's actually a spirit. I can tell you that the more legitimate teams, they check and see, is there carpet? Did somebody just walk across the carpet? Did someone do this? Did the air just kick on? In order to eliminate the possibility that there is a natural cause for it. Now, teams, once they see, for example, years ago, I was conducting an investigation and I had the cameras set up. I had team members downstairs. They couldn't hear what was going on in the room upstairs. And I said, "Are there 3 of you?" And right when I said that, I got a call on the walkie from Bobby Jo was downstairs, and she said, "I don't know what you just said, but 3 giant, huge orbs just came straight at you." So that's when you take the circumstances and what's going on and combine that with giving a little bit of legitimacy to that quote-unquote orb. But generally speaking, orbs can be comprised of dust particles, moisture, and probably the fewest chance that it's actual a spirit.
I love it, Vicky. I in these uncertain times. No, I'm going to stop saying that. I'm just kidding. But no, I think that's great. I love it. So she's going to quiz you on that, Beckett, at the end of the podcast, if I remember to
3
ask her to
orbs.
quiz you.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
To go back, and I apologize, I was very distracted with Chewy. To go back to Brittany's point with the coronavirus, just I know there's a lot of people struggling with their anxiety and their OCD and all that. I think it's a very important thing to do things creative right now. Mm-hmm. I think you should, if you can, try to be as creative as possible. And I know that's not going to cure you from your anxiety, but it might help subside some of your anxiety out there.
Because your only other option is what? Distress, and that's not going to help. So I keep reminding myself that.
Yeah,
and I think too, keep in mind, majority of people are off from their jobs right now. I know when I got fired from Miami, I was depressed. I was isolated because you just don't feel like facing the world, and it's really easy to get obsessed about stuff that you shouldn't get obsessed about. If you overwatch something or overthink something, you have to kind of break that cycle, whether it's going out to go walk or to go paint or write a song or call a loved one. You really do have to be conscious of breaking all that shit. And I think a big part of what's going to happen, and I think people need to be careful of, is being isolated without any kind of symptoms, but being stuck in a house and not keeping your mind active and activated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And
so,
I have a hope, and I could totally see it going the other way, but as an optimistic, I have a hope, like I always said, the only way to get world peace quick is to have some outside threat, whether that was aliens or that was a pandemic or whatever. And this virus is a globalist in nature. Doesn't really care, where you're from necessarily. Doesn't really care about a lot of different things. It's indiscriminatory in a lot of ways. So that said, like, we're all in this together. I know it sounds cheesy, but we are. So in a way, you're not a Democrat, you're not a Republican, you're not an independent. Like, we're all and I think in the beginning it was very divisive, but I've seen that ship turn a little bit recently where everyone's like, man, like, yeah, we all need to, like, I hope China comes up with a vaccine. I hope they help produce masks. We hope Canada, and all of a sudden, like, you know, terrorism's down, pollution's down. You know, that's a byproduct of us not having a booming economy. But there are some good things that I'm seeing. Like, I see neighbors posting, hey, if you need any help with anything, let me know. I've seen beautiful acts in Italy where people playing music, being creative on the balconies. So I think the Renaissance started after the Great Plague, the Black Plague. So I think there could be, I mean, that's kind of Pollyannish, but I always put the hope in, like, the best of everyone.
I don't know if you guys saw that story on buzznet.com. Terrorism's down, but hairism is up, where people are going to Instagram bragging about their hair. Like a Beckett.
I've been wearing a hat lately.
Trying to get likes.
I've been trying to keep it all under cap.
None of that's real. None of that's real. Here's an interesting email on a lighter side. Never mind. My screen just totally went blank.
Well, I have you told this story on KVJ, but we can tell the story about how things just don't go smooth for us when we're dealing with the spirit here. When, you know, I come up, I'm walking up, and there's this guy that's kind of following me a little bit.
It looked weird because I saw the whole thing develop from a distance in my window.
Yeah, and he was like, "Do you live here?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "Are you going there?" I said, "Yeah." And that's when Jason's head popped up over the fence. Anyway, they were going to cut off the electricity
within 5 minutes right before interview.
Right before the interview, and we talked him in. Initially, he did promise us an hour and a half. That's what we finally got him up to, was an hour and a half. And of course, right during the interview, the power goes off. We lose the internet connection. The lady's trying to send us messages, but hey, we got it back up and running, and we finished that interview.
Wow.
So
we got it done, baby. We're going to be on national TV. The Weird and Whatever will be on national TV. That's
awesome.
Something to celebrate.
That's awesome.
That's something to... Guys, unfortunately, Denny's, why don't you go ahead and start doing Denny's Random Facts? I'm going to have to move Chewy, unfortunately. I'm going to back out. Denny's, you're running this shit. Don't you blow it, man.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Come on, baby. Come on. Stay.
Nice. Thanks for your patience. As I get into plays. So I guess since we're on the topic of Chewy being a canine and whatnot, I mean, some people might have known this, but I didn't necessarily know this. But do you know why dogs wear spiked or studded collars?
No.
Well, so dogs wear spiked or studded collars is derived from the ancient Greek days, where they would use sheepdogs to herd the sheep, but sometimes they would be attacked by wolves, and it was to protect their necks from wolves killing their dogs.
Wow.
Weird, right? And then it just became a fashion statement, clearly, as they don't herd sheep so much anymore.
Well, that's interesting.
Just to kind of keep on the topic, we won't go too much into, you know, and I'm sure people are tired of the coronavirus and whatnot, but I looked up the word quarantine because the English language is so clever. It just takes whatever words we need.
Totally.
And the word quarantine derives from the Venetian dialect of Italy. The word quaranta giorni means 40 days. And this is because that they discovered that ships that were infested with plague-carrying rats were told to sit at anchor outside of Venice's city walls for 40 days before coming on shore in an attempt to remove the plague from their wares.
Wow, that is interesting.
In fact, yeah, I mean, a lot of them, they couldn't get in because the channels were shorter, but they kept them out. If you look at old, I guess they were trying to emulate how they would sit outside the gates and at anchor instead of at the docks.
Wow.
Well, you get an A for that one because that was very topical.
Very topical. I try not to throw too much like sickness. I know last time was a theme. This one I'm kind of trying to switch.
Vicky,
around.
our educator, she gives Denny's a grade, an A on that one.
Yeah,
Nice.
getting a little rusty giving grades, but that's okay.
Is that the beer talking, or does that?
No, that was good. No,
Do you have beer goggles for facts?
Possibly. I mean, 2-drink minimum at the comedy clubs. There's a reason.
There's a reason.
Trust me, we've done enough live events where there's no drinking and then
Distinct
where there is
difference.
drinking. People like us. We're a lot funnier when there's drinking going on.
Well, keeping it on drinking, and this would just be a survival tactic in case this ever happens to anyone. But if you're ever in a situation where you have to drink seawater, you can't drink it because it'll dehydrate you and it can kill you pretty quickly. However, it is vastly less harmful to eat frozen seawater. So if you freeze it and eat it, the separation of the salt and the water, you can actually drink a lot of it, keep your hydration up. So if you're in a place where it's Arctic and you have to drink seawater, drink frozen seawater, keep you alive.
Yeah, because I think salt water doesn't freeze.
It doesn't. It separates it.
Yeah,
It pushes out the salt crystals.
It's like vodka.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to put it on the rim of the glass.
That's
I
true.
got an A for that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the Corona is kind of it's kind of softened you, Vicky.
The land shark.
Yeah, that's the variation of Corona right there. Not the virus, the beer. Let's see here, and this would be a fun tip for you guys like to speculate on the Egyptians and the UFOs. An Egyptian necklace dated as being 5,000 years old was found to be made out of meteoritic metals. The 9 beads that were found contained on this necklace had high levels of nickel, cobalt, phosphorus, and germanium, all characteristic metals of a meteorite. Even more interestingly is how the beads were made. They figured that the Egyptians didn't possess the technologies to drill through beads, but they used a system where they would roll sheets of metal, contradictory to what they thought was. It was actually a advanced form of smithing more so than jewelry crafting. So that threw them for a loop.
Vicky, you look
Okay,
real.
Well, my question is, you're telling me that they could build pyramids, but they couldn't drill through a rock?
Damn, get called out.
Yeah, well, so they didn't have the technologies at the time, which is why they speculated there was possibly aliens. But they found out that this style of rolling thin sheets of metal was how they made the beads. But they were still thrown off by the fact that it was meteorite metals, opposed to, I mean, the way they said that you would not be able to get those metals there if it wasn't from a meteorite.
Vicky, to defend my boy, there's that one story. I always forget the name, but it's somewhere in China where they found this piping that goes all the way through the water, through the mountain, and they can't figure out how, first of all, how somebody could actually do that. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat room, part of that piping, there's something in that piping that they cannot figure out where it came from. There's nothing on Earth, at least that they thought when they tested it, that it exists. Denny's?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a construct from the meteoritic metals. I don't know.
That, by the way, is a great name for a band.
Meteoritic metals.
I
yes.
love that.
I like it.
Yeah, it was just more of an oddity than anything that they used meteoritic metals in their jewelry.
Do you guys need to freshen up on your drink by any chance?
Sure, but I don't want to cause anyone to get up.
All right, good.
I'm good.
So this is super duper random. As of 2018, there was approximately 1 million dogs in the U.S. that were named to the heirs of their owners' wills. Super random, right?
I can see that.
There's a bunch of trust fan dogs.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Over 1 million people. By this point, probably even higher.
How pissed are you?
That was from 2 years ago.
If you have a brother who passes away and
They
he
leave it
ends
to
up
their
leaving
dog.
$5.5 million to their damn Saint Bernard.
There's dogs that are richer than me.
Yes. There's a lot of dogs. There's 1 million dogs.
Vicky, that was fun.
So, but my question is, if they do leave it to an animal, what happens at that point? Do this family contest the will and say, obviously this person was insane, and what does the dog do with the money?
I'm sure all of that happens. I think it hasn't quite gone through the process yet where they have to read it back, but that has been documented that they have 1 million dogs in circulation that
Those
are going to
bitches,
get a
those
trust.
bitches be gold diggers.
I'm sure it'd be taken to court, or whoever gets ownership of the dog is going to win the case. I heard that.
Beckett loves that joke, by the way.
I heard
And
it.
he's able to laugh freely again because Chewy is back upstairs in jail. Chewy found himself in the clink. All right, Dennis, give us a couple more. You're making the people laugh. We like this.
Oh, good. Well, let's see here. This one is extraordinarily bizarre. Every year in June, there is a festival that takes place in the village of Castro del Murcia in Spain, during which men dress like devils and they jump over babies that are under 12 months a year old. It's a tradition in order to scare off spirits of newborn kids, and they still do it to present day.
Okay, my concern, and
There's a lot of concerns.
I'm going to call Jason out on this. Imagine Jason jumping over newborn babies.
Dressed like a
Okay.
devil partying.
Yeah, because
I would crush it. No, not the,
exactly.
not the babies. The challenge, dog. Don't make me sound like a baby
monster.
hater. Yeah, I'm an animal.
No, it would be totally on accident, but
Well, so
I'm
about
very clumsy.
about 2 years ago, the Pope said that they have to stop this tradition. So I think they'd have stopped it.
That's
but
good.
Is that pretty super random?
Yeah.
Vicky, what do you think?
I like that one an A.
Wow. And by the way, I want to shout out to Beckett, who just did the vampire cough in his
right.
elbow.
Yeah, do it the right way.
The Dracula cough.
That's good.
I saw something. It was, you know, that we were talking about content. It
Oh,
said-
this is the part where Beckett tries to take over and out
Yeah.
random fact you,
Yeah.
dog. I've seen it before.
No,
So get him.
I
Get
just-
him.
Sailing vessels
I
from
just think,
Spain.
I just think it's funny that people, and it's kind of true, people are more embarrassed to cough now than they are to fart.
Oh yeah. Oh
definitely.
jeez. If you had to pick between the two.
Absolutely. But I was telling Denny's, I think in a week there's going to be a new study that comes out. Now, Corona, you can get it from farting. It's going to get weird. But it'll probably be a fake story, though.
But that would be great that people stop farting.
Yeah. I don't
think they're abusing the freedom.
I don't think it's ever going to happen either. You're talking about this land that doesn't exist.
I don't think farts will ever become so commonplace that they're cool. You know, like to
Yeah,
bust
I
out in
hope not.
public.
to where people are Instagram fart famous.
Yeah, like I really don't think it would happen.
I don't know. I'm sure I guarantee you right now, if we Google Instagram fart people, there's somebody up there that's got 1 million followers that does nothing but farts.
Guarantee you, but I don't think it's. I think there's like a demo for it. I don't know if it's.
Parts
why-
are very popular with kids, though.
They are.
And kids boost numbers. There's a lot of numbers on the internet that are misleading because of kids.
It's farts and morning shows.
That's amazing.
Let's see what you guys think of this one. This one's a little on the grosser side. I know you guys like those ones, but hey, you guys know the mandrake plant? It's they parodied it in Harry Potter, where
Yes.
it's a plant, the root they pull out. So the plant gained infamy back in the day because it looks like a baby. It kind of looks like a little human is the roots of it, and they would it became popular because it was
Almost like a garbage pail kid.
kind of like kind of a lumpy looking kid is what it looks like, and you know each root looks different, but they would shave off it and they would use it as like an aphrodisiac. It was supposed to boost men's virility.
Yeah, Beckett.
Yeah, so that's where it gained, but it's part of the nightshade family, so if you have too much of it, it kills you. So it's kind of like a really weird plant that
It's kind of like life.
well, so just to show you how science has evolved over time, in the 16th century, it was a common belief that the mandrake plant grew only where semen of a dead hanged man had touched the ground. And it was also believed.
I think kids are listening to this when they're off school days.
Are they really listening to
I think we have some kids.
this constantly R-rated podcast?
have you
I don't even know how that would happen.
have you noticed I haven't said the F word once?
Well, so what's weird is people believe that if you pulled the plant from the ground, you would be cursed and killed. So they came up with this really clever method, the scientists did, that if you tied a rope around a dog and then you tied the other end to the mandrake plant and you threw food, the dog would run and pluck the plant from the ground. The only catch to it was they had to sacrifice the dog the next morning. So there was a really rough period
gosh.
where people were using dogs. It was very rough to pluck poisonous plants out of the ground. So just to kind of give you a scope from the 16th century to our current present day.
Well, that one gets a D for having a dead dog in it.
Damn.
I have more questions
What
than
about-
answers.
Yeah, well, hey, sometimes you wonder if that's the point.
How can
of
you
it.
have semen after you're dead?
So after you die, it drains from your body.
Yeah, Beckett. It ain't just.
They didn't just leave them up for decoration.
Yeah, just know when you die, there's gonna be some things leaking out, brother.
Well, all your
Is that
muscles.
Semen?
I think I would just go ahead and assume that any kind of liquid a human could possibly produce,
create.
there's a chance it might leak out. Think about it just on a sponge level. All right, let's get off this gross track. Denny's, good job though. I love it.
All right,
it. It's
yeah,
good.
so there's lots of stuff for you guys.
Let's see here. We also got. I'll ask you guys a question here, or email Vicky. This is something I think you can help out here. Dear Weird and whatever. Hey Jay Bird, I know it's a weird question, but do you think? I'm sorry. I son of a bitch, Denny's. What's that one thing to keep my phone on for more
Oh,
than
I gotta
3
say,
seconds.
so Bird has his screen set to like turn off after like 30 seconds. So if it doesn't move for 30 seconds, it turns off. He's just got to change that. Set that threshold higher.
Dear Weird Whatever, hey, I know it's a weird question, but do you think you could help me get my house investigated? Ever since I've been quarantined at my sister's house, we have started seeing ghosts. I usually don't stay with my sister, so I'm wondering if these ghosts are pissed that I'm staying there constantly. I know it's a tough time to get everybody out, but I was wondering, is there any way you all could investigate my house? I rarely stay at my sister's place. Please help me. Thanks, Mike.
Well, I am going to quote the great John Zaffis, who posted this the other day. Unfortunately, John Zaffis, who, if anybody knows, he's huge in the paranormal field. He has that show, Haunted Collector, and he is the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And he posted the other day, he's like, I know that you teams, you want to help people, but now you're just going to have to hold off into going into these homes right now.
So what if someone's literally dealing with the demon right now? They go downstairs.
They can call a demonologist.
And what if the demonologist has your same perspective? We're not messing around right now because of the corona.
I don't know.
You're effed?
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to call in the Catholic Church, which means you're even bigger effed.
Is there anything you can do kind of like do it yourself DIY?
No, I mean, that's dangerous.
But,
I will be
in
more than
trying times.
happy. I would be more than happy to do like a phone interview and to view remotely and see what I think is going on. I could do that remotely, but to actually have, I mean, you got to realize teams do this for free. Okay, we don't charge, we don't ask to cover our costs for any of our expenses. So when you're asking somebody to come into a situation where a lot of people are advising that you should be quarantined and you shouldn't be going out there, I'll be more than happy, though, to do a phone. I helped actually one of our listeners, it's been like a month. She called me on the phone. I answered her questions. I viewed things remotely and told her what I thought it was, and everything's been fine ever since then.
Question. Can a ghost make a prank phone call?
There's been times where phones that have been turned off, that loved ones have called those phones and left messages, called from those phones and left messages.
I feel like I had that one time. I had my grandma who passed away. All of a sudden, I looked down on my phone and she's calling me. She'd been dead for a while, and the fact that her number was calling me as Grandma Rita.
Right. I mean, you'd have
Was
to look
weird.
you'd have to look at how long her phone was disconnected, because they do recycle numbers.
But it's odd that number would call me.
Yeah. But I know someone whose father passed away. It hadn't been too terribly long. She received a phone call from his phone, and he actually left her a message on her phone.
Is it possible for a ghost to leave a prank phone call that says something like, "Is your refrigerator running?" Or is that too?
When the Jerky Boys die.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's how they haunt you.
That's great. That's great. If you do a reading through the phone, is it called telepathy?
I mean,
Nice.
it's pretty good. Okay, chat room. Did you or did you not like Beckett's joke? Let us know in the comment section. Was that funny or is that completely
Is
terrible?
that a groan?
Because I don't know. I like it, but I like you. I think my judgment's clouded. Here's what I'd like to get some Beckett advice on.
Is it sex?
It's
Hair cream / sex.
it says, okay,
You need some cream from a long dead man.
it said, "Dear Weird
I'm glad
Whatever."
you like that one.
Dear Weird Whatever, I got a buddy who was completely porking on St. Patty's Day. He said, I also saw people going out all day for St. Patty's Day. My buddy hooked up with the girl, completely porked her. And by the way, I had that's his
He
word.
keeps writing pork. I hear you. He's a
I haven't
poet.
heard that word since
It's been a
1995.
minute. Yeah, I know, right?
Also, to edit down this email, which is very long and full of porking. My
National
buddy,
Lampoon European
It's like a
Vacation.
throwback term.
my buddy yesterday went out for St. Patty's Day. And when I say buddy, he's like a fringe buddy.
Okay.
But he went out on St. Patty's Day, hooked up with a girl, completely did the nasty, and he's like, yeah, I'm not really worried about Corona. I'm like, I think you got other things to worry about other than Corona.
That's right. When he goes to Quest Labs, just have them add that onto the list.
But if somebody, okay, Beckett, you're a man of pure carnal passion.
All right.
Let's say somebody meets somebody on Tinder tonight. They got a case of the hornies. They're very horny, very lonely, and they think the person they're talking to is real hot. Would you advise them to hook up, or would you say now is the time for social distancing?
I think I don't know. I
Yeah.
think if you're 40 and under and you're careful, take the temperature before.
How? To the butt? I'm just kidding. I hope kids aren't listening now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point.
At this point. That's on you, parents. That's on you. You should have known that.
Should be homeschooling.
You should not have let them watch stuff in my living room.
Oh my god.
Okay, so in all seriousness, your buddy comes to you, Beckett. I'm talking to this fine girl. What do you say to her or him?
I mean, I think you just be careful. Wash your hands afterwards and before.
Wash your hands. I think you should wash your privates first.
Yeah, you take a shower. Use dial soap. Take a thermometer.
Okay, Dennis, what's your advice on that terrible advice from Beckett?
I'd say everybody just do it like that. You shared that Pornhub tweet. Just take care of yourself this next 2 weeks.
So people know listening, what was that Pornhub tweet you were talking about?
Pornhub, I thought it was really funny. I think they tweeted. At least I saw a meme. It said it's safe to touch yourself.
Because you're not touching others.
Well, that's definitely a lot safer than picking up some girl at some Irish pub.
It's safer, but I wouldn't say it's always safe.
Well,
That's
wash
true.
your hands first.
If you just cut jalapenos before, don't do it. That's a bad move.
Or, okay,
Yes.
if kids are listening, turn off the computer right now for 20 seconds. Earmuffs. To your note, don't ever use Head and Shoulders on your private parts.
No.
Because, baby, as they say in the commercial.
You misinterpreted the
No. But
Yeah, it belongs on your head and your shoulders.
But like they said,
It's not head.
like they said in the commercial, if it's tingling, it's working, and baby, it tingles. All right, kids, you can turn it back.
You're
up.
treating
Sounds like you use a Selsun Blue.
Kids, turn down the internet again. Selsun Blue, another one. You do not want to put that on your privates.
Oh my god.
Guys or girls.
treating it like Jeez.
I'm just saying.
Jeez. All right. Yeah. Good to know.
advice.
Good to know. Yeah, it's great advice.
It's a good PSA.
Here's a question for y'all to get a little deep, and you in the chat room too. Give us your opinions. You're allowed to go back in time for 5 solid minutes. When and where do you go? It can be anywhere at any time. You just get 5 minutes, though. Do you go visit a loved one? Do you go see something historical? How do you spend your 5 minutes? Let's start with the very peaceful / sensual Denny's.
Well, thank you for the
Yes.
introduction.
Can I ask one prerequisite question?
Beckett, what?
Can you influence what happens in that 5 minutes, or
I'll
you're
say-
just an observer?
Can you give yourself advice?
Like, can you get involved in the
Interesting.
situation?
The Doc Brown question. Marty!
Because you could get the sports almanac and come back and make a casino.
I think you're there as a witness.
Okay.
And, well, hold on. Let me think this through. Because if you're talking to yeah, you know what? You're a witness, but you're able to have a real moment. For example, if you go see Lincoln shot, you're able to talk to Lincoln, but you can't prevent it.
Okay.
Does that help, Beckett?
That helped.
All right.
All right.
So you talk to him and you're like, "Hey man, there's a potential chance tonight." I mean, I'm just guessing here,
You could go to Lincoln and go, Mr. Lincoln.
but he's still gonna do it.
President Lincoln, you're going to get shot tonight by a man named John Wilkes Booth. Oh, my crazy child. Go back. Go back to your craziness.
Yeah, I'd probably go back. I guess if it's more educational than anything, I'd probably go back to when I first started being dicky to my parents.
Okay, now to pile on to what you're saying, you could go back, and if you talk to a Lincoln or your parents, they can give you advice. They can tell you things that you come back and go, damn, Lincoln's got me thinking.
Well, all right. Well, I mean, I could give them advice. I guess they don't heed it. They'll continue on like as if it were.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably just I don't know, more so just to see the change.
And I think if you go back and tell your parents, I'm so sorry for being a dick.
Oh, definitely.
We'll Doc Brown that
I'd
case.
warn them. I'd be like, the next 2 years is gonna be a little rough.
Their souls will get it.
Yeah, that's what I would warn them, and then that'd probably be how I'd use the moment if I didn't have too much influence on the time.
So you go back to family stuff, not historical.
Not so much historical. I can't really think of much. I mean, I guess Hoffa would be cool to know, but
I mean,
it's like
you could literally go to where they are dumping Hoffa's body. You could witness to what happens.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know if.
And then come back and tell the people what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, so I can go back to any point in history. Not to make this question incredibly long.
Make it long, baby. We've got
But
plenty of time.
So I mean, I
People
guess
are
you could go
quarantined.
back to if you wanted to get definitive answers on the first footage of Bigfoot. You could be there present for that, just to witness it, not even necessarily.
And you witness it, you waste that great power, and you see some guy named Dave from Utah taking off a mask.
Or the Loch Ness Monster story. Like, what if you go back to pyramids and then you find out, oh, damn, they just made people work until they died to build these things, It wasn't necessarily influenced by anything. Or what?
They did, didn't they?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying if you were to subscribe to that possibly UFOs
the
or
alien thing.
aliens came down and kind of influenced how they could build such architecture.
How did they make them back then? I mean, I get that you could make the argument people could do it, but it would be really, really tough back then.
Totally.
Enslaved nations.
Yeah.
Even with a slave nation, I think that would be really tough to do.
Yep.
That to me,
Well, they
that,
didn't get time off for coronavirus. Like,
Oh.
they just worked until they died.
no, you're not quarantined if you're building a pyramid.
That's right.
I think they just left your bones in the cement too.
And then use your bones to use it as a fucking tool. Oh, ooh, damn it! I knew one was gonna slip, Vicky. I'm sorry. This is my afternoon time, and I get a little hard.
I mean,
for
at this
talking.
point, we've talked about Dead Man's ejac. We've talked about everything.
But
so.
to my point, they're taking bones and using them as tools at that
That's right.
point.
Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, if there was an important thing in history, that I don't know if anything deems that important to me. I'd probably use the moment for personal selfishness. But
Interesting. All right, Vicky, what about you?
I'd go back to Henry VIII's time. Specifically, I'd want to see Anne Boleyn and see if she really was 18 plus a bitch.
all right, see if she just rolled
I want to see if she
hard.
really was a bitch or if she was just
Portrayed.
some victim of her family.
Okay.
And you love that century.
Oh yeah.
What is it about that whole thing that you like?
I have no idea. Since I was a child, I have been obsessed with Henry VIII and his court.
Is it kind of like my obsession with ragtime from the early 1910s, 20s, and 30s?
Probably. I mean, the only thing I can attribute it to is watching a PBS special in black and white on my little portable TV with the antenna that had the little foil on it because it was broken to get the reception, and seeing a show about Henry VIII and his wives. And from that point on, I was just obsessed with it.
I think maybe because my ragtime obsession came from, for like 2 weeks, I was with this uncle named Dale, and he forced me to stay in a tent, and he forced me to listen to ragtime. He's like, "You're gonna like this shit." So
Get
maybe,
out of here.
Now you do.
maybe. Oh, you don't believe me, Danny?
Yeah, I don't know about that story.
That's not a real story. That's not a real story at all. All right,
In a tent?
Beckett, what about you?
I think I'm going big. I think I'm going back and see if Jesus rose from the dead on Easter. Right? It's like
Nikes.
I could come back and
Write a book.
I could have back and have a lot of things figured out at that point.
Birdie, if you want to shout out, you have a time.
Does it have to be history?
It can be whatever you want. You go back for 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes to go back. It could be even an hour ago, but you only get 5.
I'd probably go back to my childhood just to relive some things again.
So you go back to your childhood. Now, are you going back to your childhood to watch you play with Cabbage Patch Kids? Or I'm old. Damn, you didn't play with Cabbage Patch Kids, did you? No, you're younger. You had Cabbage Patch Kids? Mm-hmm. The reboot, though. You know those originals. Yeah, they're dolls. Okay, so you'd go back to a moment of your
Nostalgia, yeah, just to kind of,
witness it like a Twilight Zone episode.
yes.
I'll say what I do. I go to the Area 51 and see if this shit was real. I go right before that thing crashes, right in the area when they said it did, and I see what the shit was going on there. That's what I do. And there I have my answer. The answer I know to be true. We have been visited by aliens.
So what do you do with that answer?
I finally can sleep. I can finally rest.
Is that one of the things pulling you from slumber?
But then you want to know so much more.
Yeah, that's going to lead to even more answers.
More night terrors, more,
Even sadder.
more torturous thoughts.
You're gonna be like that guy in the video that supposedly worked on it. They did a whole documentary on. Remember that? We talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The guy that we heard about him, he was really credible, and then we found out he was highly involved in hookers. That guy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you can't be credible.
There's nothing in the books that says you can't like aliens and hookers.
I agree.
Robert Kraft likes hookers. He's had Super Bowl football teams.
Different.
A little different, but I see where he's going.
He's a pretty
had
successful guy.
Oh, totally. No, yeah, you're right.
Vicky, you had something to add?
No, not to that conversation. No, I'm good.
Okay, let's play a round, and I'd like the chat room, if you're watching along. Birdney, how are we doing on numbers? How many people are watching?
We're at 62 right now.
All right, that's okay.
But only 22 likes.
Only 22 likes, and there's 62 people watching. Beckett, imagine if we lived in a world where everyone watching liked this thing. Now, there's going to be a couple dicks that dislike it. There always is.
I mean, it's Wednesday at 2 p.m.
But imagine if we lived in a world where everyone listening disliked and shared and commented on all of the magical topics we're talking about.
It might happen in a couple weeks if everything keeps going the way it is.
So what is worse? What is worse, Vicky? Having a nonstop painful toothache, and we all know that kind of toothache,
Yes.
or a nonstop itchy butt. We all know that kind of butt.
Oh, that's way worse.
Okay, so basically for your entire life, you have the worst toothache or the worst itchy butt. What do you go with? You want that coin slot to be free, or you want that tooth to be...
I think I'd take the toothache.
Yeah, me too. Even though it's worse.
I don't know, man.
I think you're itchy butt.
Beckett, I'm going to give you a virtual knuckle bump. I think I'm going itchy butt. I'm not pumped.
Do you scratch it on the carpet?
I mean, I think I got to adopt a dog-like
Yeah.
over-the-carpet technique.
Yeah.
Well, is it an insatiable itch? Like it never ever
so
relieves?
basically-
At least an itchy butt feels good when you itch it.
Beckett, here we go.
A toothache just never, you get no relief.
I mean,
You
make-
eventually get used to the pain.
yeah, you just live with the pain and you numb
Okay,
it.
it feels like basically...
It's like a throbbing toothache.
No, it feels like worms crawling through your butt.
Oh, jeez. Are there worms or it only has phantom feelings?
It's not worms, but it's phantom feelings of worms in your butt, Beckett.
You feel better to itch.
Denny's, you're still going with tooth?
I don't know. Who knows?
You're trying to
I mean,
smoke-
this coronavirus out. There's so many things to think about.
You're trying
now.
to
I don't
smoke,
know.
trying to smoke weed. What would be worse? You're getting
Well,
high.
itchy butt's way more embarrassing to deal with. I could just curse to myself, with the broken tooth.
So do we change you? Are you going tooth?
I'm staying tooth. I stick by it.
Vicky?
I'm staying tooth. I might lose some weight, so I'm going with the tooth.
It's going to affect your eating. That's a big problem with the tooth. You're going to enjoy food a lot
I think
less.
I think I stand with Becky on worm butt, but it's tough, man. Ugh. What is worse? A chat room, let us know, by the way, worm butt or toothache. What is worse? To have terrible narcolepsy.
Yes, where you fall asleep.
Thank you for mansplaining narcolepsy.
I'm just saying, in case there's somebody out there.
My man over at Denny explained it. Narcolepsy.
Everybody out there knows what narcolepsy is.
Or to have the worst case of IBS. Again, these are lifetime achievements.
I would rather have IBS, ADL.
ADL all day long? I don't know, man. For a guy who doesn't sleep well, narcolepsy
Yeah,
might... I think I'm going narcolepsy.
Yeah, but you gotta wake up, and you actually technically almost have narcolepsy now, the way you sleep. You fall asleep for like 15 minutes and wake up.
How do I wake up, Denny's?
You wake up from a night terror every time. Like as if you're getting a breath of air when you're coming out of the ocean.
It ain't no Swiss picnic, Beckett. We all don't dream like you dream on the other side of the highway.
Yeah, I sleep hard.
Bet you do. Vicky?
Narcolepsy.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go with IBS.
Really? You go with the IBS?
Yeah, because then I got to be worried about like driving my car
Yeah.
and,
I'm not a strong driver, as they say in the business.
What if you're in an Uber and you fall asleep?
Dude, it happens all the time. And I have a night terror, and they're like, sir, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. All right. What would be worse? Oh, Birdney, what do you got on that one? Narcolepsy or IBS?
I'd rather be able to sleep.
Okay, narcolepsy. I love it.
Well, so is this, and maybe just because I don't know that much about narcolepsy, but when you fall asleep from narcolepsy, do you just wait if somebody rouses you like normal? Do you wake up like normal,
Probably not.
or are you
Yes,
under
you
for
do.
a second?
My uncle had it. Yeah, you just would wake him up.
Really?
So is it something that I mean
fall
technically
asleep
you
in the middle of anything.
Yeah.
I
But that's what I'm saying. I didn't know if you fall asleep and you're out, or if you fall asleep and you can be woken up as if you just normally fell
Think
asleep.
about it. You can't do anything. You can't go skiing. You can't fly a plane.
Well, there goes my list of things to do this week.
So so what you're telling me is my life changes at nothing at all.
You can't do a radio show.
Yes, I could. I fall asleep during the day every single day. So technically, Denny's is. I got narcolepsy
3 times.
I definitely fall asleep at least 3 times a day.
Yeah, it used to be 4.
Shit, Denny's is. I got narcolepsy.
You technically have the patterns.
Breakthrough. All right. Would you rather? I'm sorry, not would you rather. What would be worse? Finding out that your significant other has been a robot the entire damn time. So all of those sweet nothings, Beckett. Oh, Beckett, I love your hair. Really, what was going on was, Beckett, I love your hair because I'm programmed. Or finding out, damn, I lost my place. Or you find out that your entire life has been broadcasted like in the Truman Show.
Oh, snap.
What would be worse for you? And I'm sorry, they got footage of you pooping. What would be worse?
The Truman Show.
Really?
Well, it's a betrayal of privacy.
Okay, let's take out the pooping factor. Everything else, no bathroom stuff has been. None of your embarrassing moments.
I think
as
pooping
far,
would be the worst of it. Or would be like the least of it.
But they see you, for example, at your worst state. If you treated somebody bad and you felt terrible after, and you guys worked it out between each other, but then the whole world's still judging you for it. Like all of those would be captured. What do you go with?
And the first one's the person that you thought is actually a
So
robot.
Jen, you find out
is a robot the whole time.
she's not real. She's got wires, dog. She's got 10 cups for eyeballs. Or behind,
tough. So
behind her eyeball.
Which one's worse?
That doesn't make sense.
It's hard to say, man. Being filmed your entire life would probably be worse.
These questions are designed to be tough, Dennis.
No, I get it. I think being filmed all the time would be rougher.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even though the other one's pretty awful.
Vicky, your true love is a robot. Can you deal with that?
Well, somebody should have programmed him a little bit better.
Vicky was a singer. I like it. Little relationship singer. Good stuff, Vicky.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't want my life to be broad because there's some things.
Yeah, I get it. No, believe me, I don't know if people should see me broadcast. Although, if I truly fell in love with somebody, if I truly was in love, and then I found out they weren't really in love with me because they were a robot, son of a bitch.
That'd be hard.
Well, I
Would
got
you
that
break up with them?
I got that question from a Twilight Zone episode I watched recently, and the person has a robot for a mate, and they fall in love with them, but then they're kind of questioning.
Is it real?
I love them and they love me, but it's not real.
It's
kind of
artificial.
like hitting a home run when you know you didn't really hit a home run deservingly. The pitcher's not on steroids, but you are.
But I would make a case it is kind of real. Like, you can love things.
Beckett, we've all known you've been wanting to bang a robot for quite some time
Well,
now.
if you were happy with it for 5 years and married it and, had sex with it and had a relationship and shared
I mean,
life
technically,
with it,
it's real then.
yeah.
Yeah, but then that goes with your whole your own truth and your own perspective isn't necessarily the truth, though.
Right. Yeah, you have to redefine your truth. That's for sure.
Is that healthy?
I think it could be unhealthy or healthy or in between. Yeah, it's tough.
Well, you run for office? Give me an answer.
Hey, this isn't going on the record, man.
I think it can be healthy. I think it'd be healthy. I think that.
Oh yeah, he so wants to bang a robot. It's okay.
Who
dude.
wouldn't?
I kind of hear you.
I
No, I know you don't. I'm not gonna get into it. Denny's, what's your answer?
What, banging robot? Is that where we landed on?
Oh
that?
no, we are. Never mind.
I think I already weighed
Yeah,
in.
you
I
did-
think
you did.
it's worse.
You
the
did,
other.
you did. All right, what would be worse? Always weeping hard in every business meeting you ever had. I mean, that would suck. Think about Vicky. We're calling a teacher meeting, and guys, we're changing to green paper. Fuck.
Oh, instead of my bitching, I'd be crying. Okay.
I mean, weeping though, to the point where like, damn, Vicky's going through some shit. But that's every meeting you ever have for anything.
Okay.
A meeting for your daughter, a meeting for your loved ones, or loudly farting every time you're out in public.
Oh, I'd
every
rather
time.
cry. I'd rather cry.
Yeah, every time you're in public.
Like you're going to Publix, you know you're gonna have a moment.
Or
where
if you're at a restaurant.
anywhere you go. Anywhere.
tough.
You walk in
Yeah.
if you walk your dog, you know that you're gonna have to walk into somebody that has to hear you fart. You have to, that's your new normal.
Yeah.
That's the term.
That's the term.
That
I
was
knew
the
it.
term. I couldn't think of
I
it.
thought of it partially, but it was so far removed.
The new normal is that would be your new normal. And I hate that term.
I'm
by
going
the way.
crying because no one would invite me to meetings anymore. I just get out of so many meetings.
But it's every meeting. So that cool adventure you want to go to Alaska to save all those Alaskan dolphins and seals
You're about to go kayaking.
with all your cool kayaking friends. We're having a meeting, Beckett.
Hey, let's meet up real quick before we go out.
I just love you guys so much. I love Alaska and I love manatees and seals.
He can just have his robot girlfriend conduct the meetings instead. He's
Now
good.
we're really sounding like utopia.
You're going crying.
No
Go
more
cry.
meetings and robots.
I think I'm going crying too. I think I can make it work with the crying.
Oh,
Yeah.
farting, dude! People would hate you.
You might be able to make.
You would be hated by even your closest friends.
But I think people would hate you too if you're crying all the time.
Yeah, but I don't have nearly as many meetings as I'm outside.
That's right.
All right. So we're all. But Birdie crying, farting.
Crying.
All right. We're all agreeing. That was not such a tough question. Last question. What would be worse, committing a murder and then convincing the world your dad did it, or you're convicted for the murder of your best friend, but you're entirely innocent?
Damn.
Oh yeah. Boom.
Can we appeal the decision?
No appeals, Vicky. You're going to the clink and you're going to the gas chamber.
And I killed Bobby Joe in the meantime.
You killed Bobby Joe, but you didn't really kill Bobby Joe. But everyone's
Everybody
turning
thinks
on.
I killed Bobby Joe.
You actually get a little bit of time to go on the internet. You hear us doing a weird whatever podcast, and we're trashing you. Vicky killed somebody, guys. Well, she should fry. Like you're here. That's the kind of shit you're hearing. Everyone in your life is turned on you.
What was the first option?
It's pretty deep. I'm glad. I know that that one takes a lot. Committing a murder and then convincing the world your dad did it. And then the second one, you're convicted for the murder of your best friend, but you're entirely innocent.
Is it a loophole if my dad's already deceased?
Nope. Your dad. Okay, so
It has to be like my son or
who
something. like that.
exactly? Whoever
Next
your
in
dad.
line.
Thank you, Denny. Denny, thank you. I'll come back to you, Vicky. Beckett. Chat room, let us know.
So I have to lose my.
Beckett, do I have to read it again?
No. I'm just thinking it out.
All right, Denny's.
It's
Shit,
hard. It's hard.
Stumped us.
It's hard. So I would go probably. I would just have everybody think I did the killing. I can't put that on my dad. I mean, because then I'm like, I'm saying he did it, even though he didn't. Whereas the other one, at least I'm not guilty.
But the other part of the decision is you're thinking, because if you choose the second option, your best friend dies. If you choose the first option,
it's a rando.
well, the way he put the question, yeah, it sounds like a rando.
It was designed this way, Beckett.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but at least I wouldn't be the culprit. I
The
wouldn't
other
be
one you
guilty.
couldn't. Yeah,
At
exactly.
least
I
you
mean-
wouldn't have to be a murderer.
Yeah,
I'd be
literally.
called a murder, but I mean, I know deep down I didn't do it.
Yeah, go option two.
I could at least sleep at night.
Yeah.
But everybody walks
Oh,
by
they
your
hate you.
cell in jail. Oh, what's up, Dad? Murder of fresh fish, bitch. Dad murder up in here, motherfucker. What would I mean? Just throw that in there.
It's a tough question to begin with.
It's a tough one.
All right, very good. You guys did great.
Nice.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I was the only one that picked.
I picked.
Oh, you picked too?
Vicky. That's right. We did do Vicky. Vicky. That's right.
Okay, I still want some clarification. So, the person that I am accusing of this crime, are they going to do time?
Oh yeah. They're time. They're going to be on death row until they're 85, and then they're pardoned.
All right, then I have to be accused of it. Sorry,
All right.
Bobby Joe.
All right. Damn. Deep
Damn.
stuff.
What about Bird?
I do the same thing. I take the fall. It sucks. People are going to be calling me fresh fish, call me dad murderer. It's
You
going to
just killed Denny's.
Denny,
Yeah, and in my scenario,
sweet me. Oh shit!
yeah,
Damn it, I'm dead too.
there's no point where it doesn't overlap.
Bird.
That's like some Romeo and Juliet shit.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
My own game's backfiring on me. Well, do you guys want to go ahead and end this? We unfortunately we still have some shit we got to do for work.
Yeah, we're still working.
They make us media people work.
They make us work for the weekend.
Any closing thoughts? You know what? Let's close on a positive thing. I do want to say, go around the table. What is something positive going on in your life that this week has produced? 'Cause there's so much doom and gloom out there. I'm sure we can all find something, a silver lining. Vicky, what do you got for us?
My son made me laugh because he played me yesterday when I said, "Oh, did you hear the announcement from the school district that it was going to be closed until about April 15th?" And he was like, "What?" And he very seldom gets upset. And he was like, "Ah." And then he goes, "What in the world am I going to do for the next 30 days?" And I realized it was a joke, so he actually made me laugh yesterday.
Okay,
Nah.
kid laughter. They say the darndest of things. I like it. They're the future of tomorrow. Beckett.
I think I'll finish where I started and just say that I'm just excited that, the world sometimes feels like a tornado, and you're just one thing to the next, almost like in a triage. And now it gives you a chance to almost like take pause, like reassess, refocus, I hope come together. Like I said, that seems to be the shift of attitude in politicians and friends and things like that. And a lot of people think we're isolated. I think people need to look at that a little bit differently. We have the most connectivity we've ever had in the history of the world. Sure, you can't go to the cafes and restaurants, but people used to live on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
Have to write each other.
Back in the day and send letters to their husbands that were at war. We can like pick up a phone and FaceTime, do online learning. There's all kinds of different things to not feel isolated. So I'm appreciative.
Birdie, if you want to jump on the mic over at Beckett, go ahead and give us your positive thing of the week. I know there's something in there, something awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all the video games that I'm going to play that I've had on backlog, and this week I've already organized a lot of stuff, so that's always good.
If you don't know, Birdie's a gamer. Go ahead and get in that shot, Birdie, so people can see you.
Damn, make it back and move.
Oh, dang, you know what? I'm breaking the rules. Social distancing. I'm just kidding. I mean, at this point, y'all, I think we have it. If one of us has it, we have it. You're a gamer, correct?
Yes.
So how are you at Donkey Kong?
Which one? Like the original or the
I'm talking OG.
country?
I'm old AF. I'm talking, joystick.
I mean, I'm okay with the joystick.
It's because it's boring and old. Damn, I'm old, Beckett.
Old school Donkey Kong, pretty tricky.
I love Donkey Kong Country.
Pipe down, Dennis.
SNES.
All right. So what's your game of choice?
Right now or in general?
Just what? So if you were on a date and they go, well, so Bird, tell me about your game. What would be your game?
My game? I really like games that are usually single player that have you face choices and you have to make choices and the game changes based on those choices, because I really like putting myself in situations where you have to think outside the box that you normally wouldn't have to. And so I love going back and playing those games, and I think it's brought a lot of learning into my life because now I stop and go, oh, this reminds me of that game. That's a little weird how that connected. So
I love it. It's very positive. You know what? I should throw in a video game, Vicky.
you should.
Sure.
You want to play?
No.
Would that be weird if I texted you out of the blue? Hey, Vicky, what are you doing today? I'm playing some Mario Brothers. You want to come over and play?
I'd be like, I know you're being influenced by something upstairs.
Yeah. Been possessed.
All right, Dennis, what do you got for us?
So, I mean, we kind of touched upon it throughout the entire podcast here, but it is kind of weird going through a time frame where we're presented kind of like a plague-like scenario, things we've read about in history books. And if you haven't seen the old plague doctor masks that are popular, they look like a crow's face. Those things are so horrifying. I hope those come back in style. But it's just weird to think, like Beckett said, that we wouldn't be able to talk to loved ones. And we are talking about distancing. Weirdly, ever since this has happened, I've probably talked to more of my friends recently through social media, FaceTime. I mean, some kids I haven't talked to in 8 years. And even my family, I felt like I've been in more touch with them on a daily basis. Things that, just you kind of take for granted and you forget about just in the grind of life. And when life actually comes to a stop and everybody's standing there and the breeze isn't blowing, you're looking around, you're like, all right, so what do I do? A lot of people are kind of getting in touch with each other, which I think is very good. And some prosperity can come from these dark times, especially times more so unknowing times than dark at the moment.
I love it, Denny's. Very positive answers from everybody. I appreciate that, and I'm sure our audience does. And I would like to take the time really quick to give a major shout out and a major thank you to the medical field, nurses, doctors who really are on the front line right now. This is such a scary time. And I know we've got people listening right now who have loved ones, and maybe you are also in the medical field, like you're a nurse or you're a doctor or anybody that's a part of getting people healthy, getting people tested, and making people feel better. You guys really are, and I know it sounds pandering, but it's the truth. You guys really are legit heroes. We completely thank you for being on the front line. I would be paranoid with my personality. I'd struggle with doing that. You guys are human at the end of the day. I personally want to thank you for sacrificing your own health to make other people feel better. Can I get a hell yeah for the people in the medical community?
Totally.
Thank you guys for listening to The Weird and Whatever. Try to stay positive. Try to be creative. And just call your loved ones and let them know you love them. We love you all. And
Bigfoot is real.
What was that? What? What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens? Well, you should be. Because aliens want to probe around in your booty.